Hello, drama lovers. Welcome back to this channel. That night, the sky over Beijing looked just the same as always. No storm, no thunder, just a quiet night like any other. But inside the grand hall where the award ceremony was being held, the atmosphere was far from peaceful. There was something different in the air. The applause sounded slower than usual. And in the middle of all the sparkling lights stood one familiar figure, Xiao Zhan, with a faint smile resting on his face. A smile that wasn't entirely joyful. Who would have thought that behind the fancy clothes and blinding spotlights, an actor who had always seemed so strong was now standing on the brink of exhaustion, not just physically, but emotionally. That night, Xiao Zhan received the award for Most Influential Actor. But his expression didn't show triumph. Instead, the words that came out of his mouth made the once lively hall fall into silence. I don't know how much longer I can stand here. But one thing I do know, I'm grateful to be here tonight. No tears. No cracking voice. But the pause between his sentences was too long. And the way he looked down, avoiding the camera's gaze, was too honest not to raise questions. Some might assume it was simply humility. But not those who truly know him. Not the people who've watched him from the start. There was something unusual. A burden that had been hidden for too long, and now, beginning to crack. Then came the news that left many in shock. Backstage, just moments before Xiao Zhan walked on stage, his mother was seen crying. A middle-aged woman, wearing a mask and a cap, sitting quietly in one of the staff chairs, trying to hide her face. But her tears fell anyway. She couldn't stop them. Not even herself. She was seen hugging Xiao Zhan's personal manager, someone who had always been by his side. And during that embrace, a soft murmur was heard. Quiet enough not to attract attention, yet sharp enough to break any heart that listened. I just want him to be happy. I'm afraid he's too tired. Only one sentence. But it felt like the world had stopped spinning. Xiao Zhan is no stranger to fame. He's not a star that rose from sudden scandal. He is the product of hard work, persistence, and unseen wounds. From a regular boy who loved art to becoming one of Asia's most beloved actors, everything came at a steep price. Not just time, but freedom, and at times, his mental peace. After the huge success of the Untamed, his life changed drastically. He could no longer walk down a street without being mobbed. He no longer had a day off without a camera. Even time with his family grew rare. One project would end, and another would come rushing in. Drama offers, commercials, photo shoots, variety shows, they all came like never-ending waves. At first, he seemed strong. He smiled in every appearance, greeted fans warmly, and always delivered his best performance. But humans are not machines. And everyone has a breaking point. In the past few months, fans began noticing something was different. His social media posts became less frequent. His smile didn't reach his eyes like before. Even during fan meetings, he seemed to avoid eye contact more often. As if he was carrying something inside, but couldn't share it. And that night, everything reached its peak. In the backstage waiting room, the atmosphere felt off. Some staff chose to stay quiet. They just looked at one another, as if they all knew what was happening. Xiao Zhan sat in the corner of the room, still wearing his elegant black suit. He stared at the floor, his fingers moving slowly, as if trying to calm an inner storm. Then the door opened, and in walked someone who perhaps understood him the most, Wang Yibo. No cameras were around. No cheers. Just two people who had been through storms together. They stood facing each other, in a silence that was heavier than words. Then Yibo stepped forward, looked at Xiao Zhan for a long moment, and finally, embraced him. No need for grand speeches. But in that embrace, something heavy was lifted. A staff member who was nearby recalled hearing Yibo's voice, soft, but clear, as he said, "You don't always have to be strong." And when Xiao Zhan bowed his head, Yibo couldn't hold back his tears either. He covered his face with his hand and slowly wiped his eyes. For two men who had always seemed unshakable, that moment felt like a crack in the armor. But it was an honest crack. One that reminded everyone, they are human too. They get tired, and they cry. The news spread quickly. Though not officially announced, a 15-second video, taken secretly by a staff member, circulated widely on social media. In it, you could clearly see Xiao Zhan's body trembling slightly as he was hugged. And Wang Yibo, who normally kept his distance, holding him with pure sincerity. Public reactions came pouring in. The hashtag #StayStrongXiaoZhan soared to the top of trending lists on both Weibo and Twitter. Fans began writing heartfelt messages, not just support, but also pleas for him to stop pushing himself. "I want you to be happy more than I want you to be perfect," one fan wrote. "You don't belong to the cameras. You belong to yourself. If you need rest, we'll wait for you, no matter how long." The messages kept coming. And for the first time, the majority of fans united under one voice: take a break. Because what they loved was not just the actor on screen, but the human named Xiao Zhan. But one question still lingers: what is really happening? Is this simply exhaustion? Or is there something deeper going on? Some media outlets began speculating. Some claimed Xiao Zhan was suffering from extreme burnout. Others suggested he was under immense pressure to choose between two major paths in his career. Some even believed he was considering a long hiatus, or perhaps stepping away from the entertainment world, at least for a while. But until now, no official statement has been released from his agency. There's only silence. A silence that's either comforting or deeply worrying. But amid all these rumors, one thing became undeniably clear. Wang Yibo's presence wasn't just as a colleague, but as a true friend. A friendship that was once doubted, now revealed itself in its purest form. They had weathered difficult times together, including rumors, scandals, and relentless public pressure. And now, when one of them stumbled, the other stood firmly by his side. Not with grand words, but by showing up, with a hug, and with tears that were not hidden. Outside the venue, the Beijing sky remained unchanged. But for the millions who witnessed that night, the world seemed to turn a little slower. Now, everyone can only wait. Will Xiao Zhan truly take time for himself? Will he return, renewed and stronger? Or will he choose a quieter path, one that brings more peace to his heart? Hello, drama lovers. The entertainment world often looks glamorous on the surface. But behind it are human beings with fragile hearts. There are tears that can't always be wiped away. And there are battles, invisible to the public eye. Xiao Zhan may be standing on the edge. But as long as he has love, from his mother, from his friends, and from his fans, he is never truly alone. Now is the time to stop demanding perfection, and start giving space. Because even the brightest stars need the night to rest. What do you think? Is this a sign that Xiao Zhan is stepping away for good? Or is it just the beginning of a new chapter in his life? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, keep sending your support, in the most human way possible. See you in the next episode.